Hi, I'm Jay Bourgana, and I'm a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and Chief Results Leader, Jonathan Rivera.
It's time once again for another ResultsLeader.fm. Welcome back to another edition, and you know what I've got for you. I've got some magic for your ears today. I've got an amazing interview with an entrepreneur who has done multiple exits, built companies to sell for hundreds of millions of dollars, and today he's going to share his insights with you. Today I have Mr. Jay Bourgana on the show. Let's jump in. Jay, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here, brother. You ready to rock this thing?
I'm ready. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. So let's jump in. Let's give our listeners something that they can do right now to get a quick win. What book or books have you given most as a gift?
I have this wonderful business fiction that I've given probably thousands of copies of. It's called The Goal by Eliyahu Goldratt. It's written in 1984, is the best management book you'll ever read. Most management books tend to be a little bit dry and boring. This one is not. This is a fiction. It's a story of this young general manager of this factory that's losing money. And he's working his ass off. He's leaving his wife alone. He's coming late, and he's feeling that he's failing in all fronts. And his board has given him 3 months to turn things around, or they're going to shut down the factory and lay everybody off. And so he goes through this journey of figuring out a solution, how to save his factory, save the jobs, save the community, and save his marriage and his life. And on one of his trips, he meets one of his old professors who never gives him full answers. He always asks him questions. He uses this Socratic way of helping him find the solutions on his own. And it's just a wonderful, suspenseful book that if you're in business, if you run a business, if you own a business, if you aspire to running a business, highly, highly, highly recommend it. I picked it up at the bookstore on a Saturday afternoon, and I could not drop the book. I read the whole thing standing next to that shelf. I read the whole 500 page, and then I bought the book.
Nice.
It's a wonderful book. Highly recommend it.
No kidding, man. I don't think we've had anybody say they've given thousands of copies away, so it must be good, and it is now on my list. So I want you to think back, Jay. Tell me a story of how an apparent failure set you up for later success.
When I was, I started working very early. When I was 17, I started in banking. I did everything from consumer banking to business banking, and I was bored. And I was also thinking that banking was not a long-term thing for me. I knew that the money was made in entrepreneurship, so I was seeking ideas on how to start my own business, and I got lazy. And I got lazy with my ideas. And I go to this convenience store all the time, and I enjoyed my conversation with the manager there. And I said, oh, what about me opening a nice convenience store somewhere, a 7-Eleven type? And I'll just poach this guy from the store. I like the guy. He's really nice. He seems like he's doing a good job. I'll just poach this guy and open a store somewhere else, and I'll be successful. I had the guy, I had the location, I had some capital to start. And that's enough for me to start a successful business. And obviously, it was a complete failure because I didn't know what the real, number one, you never know if a business is successful or not unless you see the P&L and you see the balance sheet. So number one, the assumption of me as seeing people come in and out, that means it's successful. And then also seeing this person that works there in a successful business doesn't mean that that's the person who's making the place successful. The place has been there maybe for 20 years, and that guy came in 2 years ago, and he's riding the coattail of this long story. And I'm assuming that he's the reason behind the success of that business. And also, I assumed that by hiring the right person, therefore, I didn't need to do the work. I didn't need to go in the weeds of my business. I just needed to start the business, hand it over, and it's going to take care of itself. And also, I didn't know how long it takes for a business to gain traction and how much capital do you need to survive that period, that startup period, for you to be able to gain traction, especially in a business with zero or low margin like grocery. And silly me, I thought, oh, I'm losing money on one business. Let's open another one. It's
There's
kind of
the
like the
answer.
story of like, hey, you're losing 5 cents per melon. And then the guy comes out and say, oh, we need a bigger truck. Wonderful. Just get that loss bigger. So I lost all my money, and it was a really, really good lesson to have that young. I mean, I was 21 at the time. It really set me up really well in the following businesses and the following industries that I entered.
So what was the next business after that one?
So I was in banking. I went into manufacturing, and I worked for a manufacturer for about 5 years. And we did houseware, home decor, health and food products. I spent about 3 years in China sourcing and doing production. And then I started an alcohol, a naturally infused vodka, tequila, and rum product line. And it kind of came out from that first business. And we essentially, lucky for us, we started the business with 5 people with a $5 million seed. We sold in 2006, like early 2006, for 25 million to Duty Free America. And we exited like right before the big crash.
Boy, talk about timing, man. So let's talk about investments. What would you say is the most worthwhile investment you have ever made?
I think I have 3 buckets of investments. I have health, wealth, and the relationship. So I believe I'm a big fan of Warren Buffett. And if you ever seen any chart of the Warren Buffett's wealth, you have noticed that he started really early and the wealth has been growing very slowly. And by age 50 or 54, that graph that takes a hockey stick. And it took about 50 some years for that momentum, that compounding to really pick up steam and pick up speed. So I truly believe in the power of compounding in everything, whether it is health, whether it is wealth, whether it is in your relationships. And you got to put in small investments over a long period of time in all those aspects. So, health, obviously working out, eating, sleeping, breathing, meditating, all the good stuff, wealth. I think of investments in wealth right behind me, books, reading, knowledge, masterminding, coaching. And I believe in investing in people, investing in your team, building a leadership bench, recruiting with the mindset of developing leaders that are going to turn into entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs. And then in the relationships, and that's one thing that I'm focused on for the next leg of my life. I'm 43 now, so I'm hoping to live another 40 years. So the next 40 years is going to be compounding in the relationship world, giving back to the community, giving back all the stuff that I've gained from everybody, and then just connecting and building the relationship over a long period of time.
I like that, man. So I want you to think back over the last 5 years. What new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
So in the last 5 years, so I went into manufacturing, I sold that business, I went into real estate. I did consulting for about 5 years, and then I went into real estate and I built a company and I sold. In the last 5 years, what I found is that when you build a business with the intention to sell, you're building a business that's going to thrive. So whether you decide to sell it or not, it doesn't really matter. But the seeds that you put in, the foundation you put in with the idea that you're going to sell makes that business stronger, more resilient, and it builds the foundation for that business to succeed and thrive over a long period of time. And one of the things that you do when you decide to sell, what makes a business sellable? A business is sellable if it has earnings, profit, and those earnings have high quality. And what does that mean, high quality earnings? That means there's low risk of losing those earnings, and they're earnings that can grow. And what are the risks of earnings? The risk of earning is that if most of the earnings are coming from the leader or are they coming from the team? Are these systems in place that are going to last the leader? If the leader gets hit by a bus, is there a process? Is there a system? Are there people within that system that can run the business and that can keep growing it and keep maintaining the quality of those earnings? Is the brand a good brand? Do customers stay when they acquire a client stays with them for a long period of time? Because it has a good reputation. All these elements make for the quality of those earnings, and then which makes for a business to be sellable or sellable at a high multiple. So when you think from that perspective, from the beginning, you stage your business and you set up your business not to maximize your own personal owner profit, but you maximize for the profit of the business itself. And you maximize for hiring good quality people and building a good culture and keeping those people. Because like we talked about compounding earlier, when you have a person that's been with you for 20 years, there's a compounding of experience. There's a compounding of trust. There's a compounding of growth, as opposed to, having to hire people every 6 months. You lose so much value. So you have to build the business from the beginning with the mindset that you're going to be reinvesting back into the business, into the systems, into the technology, into the process, into the people, into the culture, into the brand, into the clients, and over time. And it's amazing when you do that over a period of time. That's where amazing businesses show up as overnight 20-year successes.
Yeah, man. So I heard you say it a couple times, and I'd like to just dig a little deeper before we move on. You mentioned a good culture. So what is a good culture in a company to you?
So a good culture, number one, is you have to articulate a vision. So there's a vision. There's an articulation of that vision. So a lot of times I hear a lot of people have read the book Traction. And everybody's a visionary these days. And it's like a joke right now. Everybody's a visionary. So, but, when you actually ask the question, you don't get a real vision. And also when you ask their people, they don't know what the vision is. So number one, having a vision, having a theme, and then hiring to that vision and to that theme. So for me and my companies, all of them were the same thing. It's always about growth and contribution. So everything just falls into those two things. We're growing as an entity, we're growing as people, we're growing in every aspect of our life, health, individual wealth, individual relationships. For every person in my organization, it can be the cleaning lady, or it can be the GM, or it can be the best salesperson. We're going to drive growth in their life, and that drives growth in our business. And then contribution, everything we do is either about the client, about the team, about the organization, about the community. There's no selfishness conversation. We kill that very quickly. We don't hire people that are that way. We always hire people that are about contribution. You could find that very quickly, people that take responsibility, people that are about others. And if we make a mistake and we make the wrong hire, we let that person find other opportunities somewhere else very quickly. But we really enforce and communicate and repeat and share that our culture with everybody. And then so everything else comes around that. If we're about growth and contribution, there's so many things you can do around them, from whether it is in how we train and educate and help develop people, to how we have fun, the things that we do for fun, the things that we do together when we want to go and just play. So those two themes have been with me from the beginning of time, from all the businesses that I've been in. I've been in, I've consulted, I've built, I've developed a lot of different businesses, from chicken farms to lettuce packing companies to plastic injection molding companies to glass manufacturers, you name it, whatever it is. I've been in it, and it's the same theme. It's the same conversation. It's all about what we do as an entity. How does it impact the whole world? How does it impact the community? How do we give a big why to our people so they can feel proud about what they do? And then how do we give them a personal big why for themselves, their family, and the people around them? And how do we connect the dots for our people to be able to get excited when they get up in the morning, to go out there and get better at what they do, learn more, bring more ideas, and then just bust their ass to make the team and themselves very successful.
Dude, I have to ask, chicken farms? How do you get people motivated with chicken farms?
Well, it's people love chicken, and the chicken is one of the cheapest proteins out there. Chicken goes into a manufacturing of a lot of products. If we do our job in keeping the cost of food low, we're helping that single mom and her kids and being able to afford food. We're helping the community being able to maintain, good nutrition. If we do our job and keep our chicken safe and clean and healthy, we're not spreading diseases. And there's so many things, so many themes you can bring into anything you do that affects other people. If you can give them that vision of that little girl or that mom or that guy who's working his ass off just to, minimum wage, 3 jobs to bring food to his family. And you can connect the dot for the guys that are cleaning the coop to that person and give him that vision. They'll do everything they do with that person in mind, that end customer, that end consumer.
I dig it, man. I dig it. You're the real deal. So let's talk about bad recommendations. What are some bad recommendations you hear out there in your area of expertise?
Again, one of those things is that, like we were just talking about, the whole traction thing with being a visionary. I say I love CEOs being visionaries, but I think they need to get in the weeds to understand their business and get deep into it, because they can't just go and say, I'm going to hire an integrator and he's going to take care of it. You need to know what business you're in and what kind of integrator you need in your business to be able to make the right hire, so you're not hurting your people. You can go and get lucky. You're going to give them a test and find out, oh, this is the integrator and I'm going to get lucky and get a business. But, how lucky do football teams get with their quarterbacks? They hire the number one guy and it's still going to be a bust. So the likelihood of failure when you recruit and hire people is very high. So don't get stuck into these themes about, oh, I'm a visionary, therefore I don't need to be deep into the weeds of my business, and I'm just going to hire an integrator to do this. If you care about that business, if you care about your people, if you care about your community, get in there, do things that you don't like to do, and find out what ticks your business, and then go out and hire the right person for that business. And then after that, yes, you can go and do other things. But in the beginning, you have to do the stuff you don't want to do to be able, in order for you to hire the right person. And the other theme is something that I communicate to my kids, and I see a lot of young people make a mistake, is that a lot of people say it's a cop-out. They tell, for you to succeed in life, you're going to do something you're passionate about. Well, what does that mean? No one knows what the hell is, I'm passionate about. I got to do multiple things for me to find out. And then you can be passionate about anything. I can get passionate about cleaning a chicken coop. I can get passionate about, I can get passionate about cleaning the floors at a plastic injection molding facility. And I can find a link to what kind of contribution do I bring to society, to the world in what I do. And I think that's the link that people don't make, is that, they think of passion as something that I like to do, as opposed to, yeah, you like to do it for a couple months and then it gets old. And then you want to do something else because now you're bored, as opposed to doing something and knowing why you're doing it. What's the goal behind doing it? And how does it impact the world? How does it impact your community? How does it impact your people? And then find passion in it. Find passion in the thing that you do and then grow from there.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a public service announcement. We're going to get right back into this show, but I wanted to ask you a question. If you have been listening to the show for any amount of time and you've picked up even one single tip, then I need your help. Get the word out. Tell people about resultsleader.fm. Share it on social media. Share it on your email. Share it anywhere. #ResultsLeaderFM. Now let's jump back into the interview. Let's talk about results. Jay, why do results matter?
Well, results are everything. Every morning we wake up and we make choices, and we decide to allocate resources, which are time, money, energy, focus, into something. And we want to have, like Stephen Covey likes to say, the end in mind. And so when we wake up in the morning, what are we trying to achieve? What's the goal? And in not knowing what the results, we're not knowing what the outcomes that we're seeking is going to make us lose all these resources, because we can probably achieve those results in a different way, in a much efficient way, and much smarter way. And when you're going on autopilot, like 99% of the world, they just go on, zombies out there. They're just doing the same thing over and over without really knowing why they're doing them. We lose so much capacity. We lose so much potential. There's so much energy out there that could be allocated to things that can make the world a better place, that can help our communities, help people create opportunities. I come from a world, I grew up in Morocco and I went to school there and I started my first job there. And I was in a world where, at the time, it was 40% unemployment. There are people coming out of college knowing they're going to be unemployed and for years. And they had to bribe to get a McDonald's job. They had to bribe to become a cop. So where is that coming from? It's coming from the fact there are just not enough opportunities. There was a high supply of capital, of human capital, and very low supply of opportunities. And it's lack of creativity, it's lack of, it's corruption, it's, legal system is messed up. So to me, I've kind of went into this journey in my life where I just want to help businesses that have the potential to create more opportunities for people and just generates. There's so much abundance out there in the world. And if we're not focused on outcomes, if we don't wake up in the morning knowing what's the results that we're trying to achieve, we're just wasting away so much potential.
Wow. That was deep. In the last 5 years, what new realization has helped you get better results for your clients?
It's that principle of building your organization or changing your organization to get it ready to sell. Whether it is, when I talk to an entrepreneur, I go through their P&L, I go through their systems, their processes, their people. I walk through their client experience, just like if I was buying that business. And I'm actually legitimately buying businesses. So I have this conversation with them. It's like, if I'm buying your business today, or if you are buying your own business today, these are the things that you want to look at. And when I look at your P&L, I see excesses here. I see things here. Let's fix those. If we're looking at your consumer experience, if I'm looking at your reviews, if I'm calling your line, the person that I'm talking to, how does she sound? How does he sound? Are they helpful? Are they cheerful? If I'm buying your product, how does it come? What kind of packaging I'm getting? What kind of experience I'm getting? What kind of follow-up are you having with me? Are you generating forever clients? If you're spending this much money to acquire a client, how much money are you spending to keep that client for the next 5, 6, 7, 10 transaction? So we go through this process throughout the whole business with the mindset that if I'm buying your business, what am I going to be looking at? And if you have to make a decision today, if it's your own business and you have to make a decision, I'm going to invest all this money. Let's say you invested $5 million the last 10 years and, this many hours of your life and this many things away from your family. And I'm putting this capital here in front of you and I'm showing you this business. Would you allocate this capital to this business? And I think once a client gets that framework in their mind and they reframe things in their head, then a lot of behavior changes. And again, they don't have to sell their business, but those principles help that business thrive and last for a long time.
Let's think about your businesses. What area of your business would you like better results?
And this is something that, again, that a theme for me the next few years is getting that repeat compounding and the repeat client. We were in the last few years, we were big on client acquisition, all the funnels, all the Google ads and the Facebook and Instagram and all that to acquire new clients. But I don't think we're doing enough of a good job, or we're just not allocating enough creative energy and enough resources to the end of the process where we want to bring that client back into us. And since we acquired the relationship, let's maintain that relationship. Let's invest in that relationship so it compounds over the next 15, 20 years. So I think that's one of the things that I definitely would like to focus on the most for the next few years. I think of it this way. There are 4 types of salespeople. I hire a lot of salespeople. There are 4 types of salespeople. They're the prospectors, the hardcore guys are just like the hitmen. And then you have the converters, the guys that come right after you put someone in front of them and they set appointments and those guys come and convert. They're really good, schmoozers, good talkers, but they're really good closers. And then you have the marketers, the guys that are like build funnels and they can get the client to give their credit cards online real quick and close the deal, from a marketing perspective. And then you have the networkers, the people who are in the relationship business. And what I found, I started in the hardcore guy, the hitman, I went into the conversion and I went back to the marketing. I think this is part of my life where I got to go to the relationship side, because, you can build this and you can generate and acquire a lot of clients, but it's really fun to be in the relationship part, to be in the, in the networking part, to be the person, the go-to person, no matter what. People think of you fondly because you stay in contact with them, you're in a relationship with them. So this is the part that I'm developing in the next cycle of my life and the next cycle of my businesses as well.
For the next 40 years, you said. So it's going to be a good 40.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
So what results are you most proud of, Jay?
Building a lot of leaders. I'm proud of a lot of things. In my consulting years, I've helped a lot of business who were dying. And I was like the ER surgeon that goes in where the body's convulsing, it's going to die soon, they're bleeding from everywhere. So I go, I'm not afraid of cutting things, open things up, fixing things and keeping these businesses alive. So, I walked into facilities that were 2 weeks away from bankruptcy. I walked into businesses that were owned by 4 or 5 generations and they were going to be lost. I walked into businesses where it's the only business in that town and the whole town counts on that business for its livelihood. And I was able to help turn those businesses around and give them another lease on life. So that's actually one of my favorite 10 years of my life. I couldn't do it now that I have a family because I used to go and live in those factories and those facilities and stay with them for 6 to 12 months to do that operational turnaround. But in my second part of life, which is the startup and the business acquisition part, I love the bench of leaders that we've built, people that didn't see themselves as leaders and that we were able to give them that vision and give them bigger goals and give them the skills to be able to coach and mentor and hold people accountable and be able to build and grow businesses.
Man, I know that everyone listening to this show is going to want to get more from you. So where can they go, Jay?
Well, I'm everywhere on all the social media platforms, Jay Borgana, and I'm easy to reach. So I love to have conversations with people who need anything.
Yeah, so we will have links to all of that inside of the show notes. We've been speaking with Jay Bourgana. Thank you, sir, for sharing your journey with us. And thank you, Results Leaders, for tuning in. That is a wrap for another edition of ResultsLeader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to ResultsLeader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard. We'll catch you on the next one.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.